We went to visit the village where Richard Burton was born, and we all went on this trip, and Carl plodded up on this trip, as if he didn't really want to be there. And I said, I brought a camera. I just wondered if you'd take a few photos, would you? And I offered him the camera, and he took the camera. And so that was, to me, the beginning of the seeds of something for him. So what did he get out of it? Well, he became the cameraman. He became the filmmaker. He worked with one of the artists we had who was a filmmaker, so he got that opportunity. And so for me, what changed for him is that he became someone. He became someone that was needed. He became someone that could do something for the whole team. He wasn't the marginalized youngster at the edge of the table that everyone ignored and didn't bother with because he wasn't bothered. He became part of the group. He edged in and edged in and edged in and edged in.
Today we have with us Iona Towler-Evans. She's a drama educator, a trainer, the governor of Woodrow First School in Redditch in the UK, and the co-author of Humanizing Education with Dramatic Inquiry, which she wrote along with Brian Edmonston. Iona has been a close collaborator of Dorothy Heathcote's. She has trained under her and also worked with her for several years. Iona's work champions process drama, Mantle of the expert, and commission model. She has helped many teachers over decades in creating participatory classrooms which are steeped in deep learning through dramatic inquiry.
Iona, how many years have you been doing drama?
Oh, gosh. You're asking me a question now, and you're making me feel very old. You know, if you go back to my school years, if you go back that far, I was not really, I didn't even feel included in drama in sense in school. It wasn't until I was in the sixth form that the school had started doing any drama. And one year they did actually do some kind of pantomime, and there was going to be 2 Cinderellas in it. And I was one of them. And then it turned out I couldn't do it because I was much bigger than the other one, and the costume wouldn't fit. So my experience of drama as such as a child was not that positive, really. It was not something I really felt I'd become engaged in. But however, it changed. And I think it changed when I discovered Dorothy Heathcote's work. And I read her book, and it was trying to think what it was about, signs and portents. It was all that sort of thing. It's in the one that Cecily has edited, the Green Book. I can't remember the title, but
Drama structure.
Dramas. It might be something else. And it was written in about 1984 and edited by Cecily, I believe. Now that book, I started reading that, and I just found this was so interesting because it seemed to me like Dorothy was talking about human beings, not numbers. She was talking about the whole child, really. She would talk about her own family as examples. She would talk about her relationship with her daughter. And it suddenly seemed to me that this was about a real life story. And for me, it seemed like education had some real life resonances, if you like, which I thought was like quite unusual for my traditional education. So I would say it was about 1984 when that book came out that started to change things for me. And that's when I came to Birmingham from Wales, where I was teaching drama at secondary school. But again, I was in, similar to perhaps India, I was in the context where performance was a very important part of it and the major part of it. And it was very good. Mm-hmm. But I got interested in Dorothy's process drama and the whole experience of being in the process of drama. And I felt that included more young people than just performers. So I started using it in the schools. And then in 1990, I communicated with her as well, wrote to her, and I met her in the early 1990s. So you can work it out, it was quite a while, you know.
Yes. So your incident from your school when you were young,
Yes.
was it because you didn't feel included in the performance bit of drama that we usually look at?
Well, I think what it was that we'd only just started doing a little bit in class, not very much. And this whole performance after school was just that. It was an after school performance. And I felt a bit destroyed by it, really, because I'd been rehearsing the lines, I'd been planning it. And then he just took me one side and said, "Oh, we've got a bit of a problem with the costume. So I'm going to have to ask you to step down." And it was just, that was it. And then you went, and I thought, oh, I felt very deflated by that. So that was a performance, very much a performance thing. So I think what got me more interested
Was the process.
was the process. But before that, what got me really interested is I went to the local church hall where I saw a performance. And the performance was by two Welsh, because I'm from Wales. It wasn't in Welsh language, but it was people who had similar lives to our lives. It was a bit of a kitchen sink drama, perhaps. But I was so amazed when I watched it. I was so amazed that my life was being shared with me off this stage. That the jokes the family were having were the jokes I shared with my family. They were connecting me with this drama. It was, I thought, this is amazing. Because we weren't really a family who went to the theatre. I didn't come from a theatre background. My parents were farmers. My father was a farmer. My mother was a cleaner. We weren't like academic people or anything like that. So just to go and watch that, my mum came with me and she was amazed and we loved it. It was that changed my mind about what theatre could do. It could connect you with people on there. And that was like a very direct connection, really. So I think, and then reading Dorothy's work, and then did drama at university and used that with youngsters, but with performance. But I knew this was a different dimension.
Right.
And I thought this is a new dimension that I want to bring to my teaching.
So when you brought in process drama in your teaching, what kind of changes or shifts did you see in the young people you were teaching? Were they more attentive? What kind of shifts and changes did you see amongst them?
I think amongst them, it meant that the whole class, they sort of, if you think about an onion and you take a layer off and there's some other layers underneath, it seemed to me that there were more layers underneath this work, that they would process this, they would look more deeply into it. They weren't just performing it. And I remember us doing something we were doing some drama and it was kind of a bit direct, perhaps, and it was a bit raw and it was a bit exposing, and we got into some social issues, which was quite a common thing in the 80s, actually. Drama seemed a lot to be about social issues.
Yes.
So I was in that domain, if you like. And we were doing something about battered wives, I think it was. And, I remember getting in touch with a women's refuge and somebody came in to speak to us. So there was this connection with real life, suddenly. And it was like everything seemed more real to them. And because it was a process, they were more investigative of it. They had questions to raise. And so it was more about discovery and identifying what this woman had been going through and people like her been going through. She had recovered very well, so she was able to tell her story. And it was that difference, I think, that it made, and that they were all part of it, and they had an input into it. And they, it wasn't like just scripted stuff they would have presented, but they would grow their own scripts, if you like. And so I felt there was something much deeper in it, really.
And children usually enjoy deeper
Well, that's
going
right.
deep.
Yes, they do. They do. And of course, I've learned, I suppose, since then that you don't necessarily have to confront people with such raw stuff. And looking back, I mean, I think, what an awful thing to ask this woman to come in who was obviously had been through so much and to share her story. It was a very personal story. And I thought at the time, oh, this will make a great lesson. I wasn't thinking enough about these are human beings who've been through an experience. And here I am using her as a resource, if you like, for a lesson. It seemed quite uncomfortable afterwards. I thought, I'm not sure this is right. So I think as I developed and as I got to know Dorothy's work more closely, I understood the importance of metaphor. I understood the importance of those symbolic ways of exploring and the signs and the metaphor And I wouldn't use something that was so directly close to maybe some of those youngsters, which is, again, something I might have neglected to check at the time. So, that's what I would
Yes,
say.
I think this is a very common thing that all theatre artists or artists who, teachers who teach theatre, this is a trap that they fall into, because they usually we see that if we are not trained in process, or we don't know of the process, then we end up bringing in material which is made for adults into the children's
absolutely.
space.
I'm sure you're right.
Yes.
Sure you're right. And I'm sure that's an example of it, that I was doing then.
Many of us did that. I did that to an extent.
Yes.
There was a pupil who had come and who was figuring out his sexuality, and then and I asked them to write a letter, and he wrote a suicide letter. And it was heartbreaking because I did not know what to do after that. So then that was my first pupil, one of my first pupils. And then after so many years, now I understand that what Dorothy talks about, the frame distance, when you go away from it in drama, you can tackle these kinds of issues more sensitively, I feel.
Yes, absolutely. And I think she once said something like, the more distance you get from something, the closer you get.
Yes.
So the further away you are, the closer you get, which sounds like a contradiction, but it's actually, quite a very wise statement. And I think that's very true, because they feel liberated if they're protected. It's like in the book that Brian and I wrote, we shared stories of our teaching. And one of the stories was of, it was about a baby who was drifted along the beach, was found in a box on the beach. And these children, and Dorothy helped us plan this. These children had come from Somali to our Birmingham school, and they were very young, and some of them were separated from family, etc. And the head wanted us to, David was involved actually, and the head wanted us to run something that would get them to, I don't know, feel at home, feel empowered, feel they had a place, and to bring what they knew. Because I think that's what Dorothy often did, is tap into what they know, find out what they know. And there's a lot of examples of that. And these children, she said, they know about being separated. They know about being lost. And they know about difficult journeys. But it doesn't mean to say that you're going to look at their journeys, But we use the metaphor of the baby that was washed up on the shore. They were framed as deep sea divers or fisher folk. So they'd be out fishing, we'd be collecting shells and all sorts, use lots of material. And then we agreed that we'd find something, and it was going to be this baby. And we found this baby, and we wrapped her up, and we just used a shawl for the baby, and then we had the baby. And there was a note with the mother had left. There was a story in pictures the mother had left, all sorts of things. And the mother put in the note, I've had to leave. I couldn't stay. And it's so theatrical, really, because it's just giving that little bit and not giving too much. Where did she go is the question in the head. Why didn't she come back? When I return, I will come for my baby.
Yes.
So, when they came back, they had to work out, was she the mother? Was she not the mother? So there's a problem. But you can understand that whole metaphor of them as the fisher folk finding something.
Yes.
It resonates with their lives without being close.
And also the stimulus that it is in itself is great for a drama to begin, and then children find their ways out.
Yes.
Let's move a little bit onto the direct benefits that you see when you are engaged in drama as a child. What do you see the children benefiting the most with when they are engaged in drama?
That's a good question. That's a difficult question. We all benefit in different ways, I suppose, as well. I'm just trying to think of the long-term project I did in Wales with young people in Port Albert. I think, I followed those for 18 months and I've closely researched the 3 case studies. So maybe that's a good bit of material to report on. in answer to that question, because I have studied them. And they all shifted in different ways, I think. I mean, the first day I went into the class, the one boy sat out completely, 16-year-old. Call him Carl. It's not his real name, obviously, but and he was sitting out with his head in his hands, wasn't involved at all. And you start a drama, and you cannot expect everyone to respond in the same way. And I started off with lots of objects and materials for them to look at. So I was using the distancing of Dorothy, the fact that she always said that young people have never given permission to be stared at, but they can stare at something else. So they were staring at other things. He wasn't involved to begin with at all. We were researching the life of Richard Burton, the actor. Some had heard of him, some hadn't. And this Carl, he just didn't move from there. He wasn't interested. And then it moved on, and then my colleague talked to him, and we started to create the setting of Richard Burton's office, and maybe you'd like to draw something, and he was quite happy to draw and doodle, so he got a little bit on the edge of it. And then we went to visit the village where Richard Burton was born, and we all went on this trip, and Carl plodded up on this trip because he didn't really want to be there. And I said, I brought a camera. I just wondered if you'd take a few photos, would you? I offered him the camera, and he took the camera. And so that was, to me, the beginning of the seeds of something for him. So what did he get out of it? Well, he became the cameraman. He became the filmmaker. He worked with one of the artists we had who was a filmmaker, so he got that opportunity. And so for me, what changed for him is that he became someone. He became someone that was needed. He became someone that could do something for the whole team. He wasn't the marginalised youngster at the edge of the table that everyone ignored and didn't bother with because he wasn't bothered. He became part of the group. He edged in and edged in and edged in and edged in. And they all changed in different ways, the different students. But I recall, so I do think it shifts in my experience from that research. They shift their identity. They shift the way they see themselves. Because if you start to see them differently and you give them the tasks or offer them the tasks or invite them in to contribute, they are doing something different. So they're beginning to be different. And I think it's identity. It's to do with agency. It's to do with allowing them to make choices. I didn't force him to take the camera. I said, you might like to take a picture. But I had noticed that he liked images. I liked him. He liked drawing. He was doing cartoons all the time. I thought he might not resist the camera. So it's a matter of looking and finding. For him, that's worked. To have him perform wouldn't have worked, but that worked. So it's kind of finding what people, and I think they can change that identity, shift that identity, if they have the agency or allowed to operate in that way of, demonstrating agency. And I think that's about how we position. It comes from how Dorothy taught us how to position young people. I mean, Mantle of the expert, they're the experts, they're the growing experts. So they shift their agency, they shift their positioning, they shift their identity. So I would say it can do all those things if we're careful in how we use it and we pay attention, really.
Yes. In your book with Brian, the title says it's Humanizing Education with Dramatic Inquiry. Being human. I think drama, what it has taught me as a person, and when we work with children with drama, we can actually see them looking at other things, other people, situations, with another lens. Which Dorothy calls drama eyes.
Drama eyes.
Yes. But making better human beings. How does drama help you become a better human being?
Well, I think, if you think about it, every drama has to have a human element, really. There's always a person in it. There's always a human being in there somewhere. It's not about things, it's about human beings. So I think the material we work with is about human beings, either facing tensions or dilemmas. And I would say that Dorothy's model of the Mantle of the Expert actually is always an invitation to help somebody. And I don't think people can resist helping people, actually. I think I know she calls it a client, and that's, one way of describing it.
Yeah.
But the way I describe it is you're helping somebody else. So if you're helping somebody else, that's got to be making you more humanizing, because you want to sort their difficulty, help them with their problems, or tackle those issues. I think that makes it more human, really. And the same with the commission model. In the project I described in Wales, in Port Albert, they were making a film to honour the life of Richard Burton for the community. The community was going to be involved in that. So interacting with the community. So again, that's about thinking about the life of somebody else and what that means to a community. I mean, that's humanising. And it's not seeing people as numbers. Because I was talking to some youngsters recently, and I had met them before, and I talked to them about where we were all from, where I was from, where my colleague was from, where everybody was from. I was from Wales, and we talked like this. And this boy said, "Oh, I'm from Sri Lanka. I've been there 6 years. I've been to, and then I lived here. I've been to India, and then I've been living here." And his classmates went, "Gosh, I didn't know that." And to me, I thought, that worries me, that you didn't know that lovely story of someone's rich cultural experiences. You think that this is a basic human, I think a human thing, that you want to share who you are.
Yes.
As you meet your classmates. They've been together for a long time. I thought, you didn't know that. For the first time they'd heard it. And they were so interested in to ask questions. So I think, I would say a lot of models are about, the first model she invented at the beginning was called Man in the Mess.
Yes.
So it was all about man in a mess who would solve somebody's problem. And then she moved on. But I do think as well, because her work is very much based in community, she always saw them as part of a group. We're all working as a group, as a team. We're not individually doing our own thing, pulling together. And I think that community culture, it got extended with the commission.
It did. However, in the education system that's coming in right now, drama is looked at, as a potential accessible subject.
Yes, accessible.
Yeah, accessible subject where they're assessing forms and how much you know about the great drama theorists or practitioners.
Yes.
It has become like a daunting task like any other academic subject. How do you respond to that when children are exposed to drama as a subject in their high grade levels, vis-a-vis looking at drama as a pedagogical tool, a tool to of learning and teaching?
Yeah, it's interesting because, in a sense, we're all in the same family. We're people, great drama theorists have considered theatre tools, drama. And people who are interested in Dorothy's work, they are interested in the same material, actually. So we're all from the same family in many ways. But I do think it's about how you function, how you use drama, what function does it have in your work, is the question. How does it function for you? What do we need it for? You could be, when you're learning about theories, you're talking about perhaps their performance, their practice. So you might be exploring it for a different purpose, a different reason. There's no reason why I would say that people can't use process approaches to uncovering what Brecht wanted to do or what anybody else wanted to do, really. And I'm sure from Cecily's workshops, not that I've attended, but she was looking at plays and looking at Doll's House, and you will have attended that. So, you're still looking at things like sign and tension and all those things, but maybe looking at it from a different point of view and for a different purpose. So I would, I'm not knocking those things. Dorothy herself was great at directing plays. She directed a community play in her hometown of Spondon, which we saw. And so she was very interested in performance. But it's the way that you approach it, I think. Because you could be perhaps, if performance is about directing someone exactly what to say, how to move, without the implications of what it means for that person, for them, what is their motivation, why is they behaving like this? They need to explore the lives of people in the play too, I think. So I think it's the way that people decide to teach. how to teach that.
How important is training and continuous professional development for a teacher or a drama teacher? Because it's constant. There are so many researches happening.
Yeah.
This is probably my 4th conference in drama and education that I'm attending, 4th or 5th.
Yes.
And every time I attend a drama conference, there are so many new methods and new ways of looking at
Yes.
practicing drama with young people that are being brought into, you know, the bank that we have.
Yeah, maybe that's good. To have a
Yes.
bank. To
Yes.
have a bank is good.
So how important do you think is training ourselves as teachers before we embark on this journey, or as we are on this journey of working with children, with young people?
I mean, I think really people learn through networks like this, through working with others, with talking to other people, teaching with others. I think the trouble with teaching very often is that you're very isolated. You can be very isolated. I was very isolated for a long time as a drama teacher because I was the only drama teacher in the school, so I just had my class and, you know, where did you go for support? Luckily, I found Dorothy, who was greatly supportive, as she always was to anybody who was interested. So I was very lucky in that sense. But I think I learned through that, and I learned through working with other people. And I think that's how we do learn things. But I also think, as you said, you're on the journey with the children. You learn as you are applying the pedagogy. And as you said, there's so many things in the bank. But the first thing you look at, I suppose, is your children. The first thing you look at is, well, with this group, which bits of that bank shall I dip into that might work for them? So I think it's about that rather than dwelling on all the stuff that you think you need to do, because there's a danger that curriculum is seen as coverage. We must cover this, we must cover that, we must cover. And there is a danger that you can rely on something you enjoy doing a lot. You know, I tend to do things strategies I like using.
Yeah.
So you've got to be careful about that. But I think the first thing is to look at your children and see what's going to possibly work with them.
Right.
That's my take on it.
Thank you so much,
You're
Iona,
welcome.
for doing this interview.
That's okay.
One last thing before we
Yeah.
close is why is drama and working with drama more important in today's times?
Well, I think it's always been important. I think it's particularly important because since the pandemic, so many people have felt very isolated. So coming back and interacting with others has been a great joy, I think, to do that. I think drama is very important because you actually are able to bring a different world into your classroom. When you use role or when you use any sort of pedagogy like Mantle, you are actually functioning this fictional world that you can create together. And that's so important because otherwise we stay in one world. We can explore different points of view through drama. Otherwise we stick with our own point of view. So it's about opening up worlds, in fact, in all sorts of cultures, in all sorts of ways. And I think it's really important because I think we're in a system, especially in the UK, where so much is imposed on young people. We have to do these. We have to do this assessment. We have to do this. We have to do that. There's not much time. There's not much time, or people feel there's not much time.
It's very similar in India.
Yes, I'm sure. So, you know, and I mean, generally speaking, there is that feeling. And there's a lot of schools that are exceptions. There's a lot of teachers in classrooms that are always exceptions, of course. But there is this danger of that happening, I think, of it being very imposed. And when you're running something in a Mantle or a commission, you're actually repositioning those children, and they are, you know, taking initiative, you know, and these are huge learning things, I think. And sometimes people forget that. They think it's about a content that we need to know, not a content that we apply or that we take control of, or that we are take an initiative about generating through ourselves and other people. So I think that's probably the big thing for me, is what drama brings to it. And it's protective. You can explore these worlds with protecting yourself from being harmed by them. You can go into all sorts of dimensions, really.
Yes, like Dorothy said, drama is a no penalty zone.
It's no penalty zone. That's exactly. You've got the technology. That's wonderful. Yeah.
Yes.
It's no penalty zone. You can try things out.
And get ready for life.
And get ready for life and play.
And play.
You know, play is so important. How we learn through play. And we continue to learn through play, I think.
On that note, thank you so much,
Thank you.
Iona.
Welcome.
Thank you for giving us your time.
Lovely.
Your lovely
Enjoyed
thoughts.
it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.